Hey guys, Kat Kerr. Today we're taking designer shrink film and turning it into jewelry. Now today I'm using this shrink film pack designed by Bowser Designs. I absolutely fell in love with these eyes. I wasn't sure right away what I was going to do with them, so I decided to just color a whole bunch of them, and I'm using some permanent markers and just making them a little happy with some color. After I added the color, I cut them out with a pair of scissors. They're easy enough to also cut with a paper punch. I do have a designated toaster oven and I preheated it to 350 degrees, placed the shrink film on a tray, and then baked them for about 2 to 3 minutes. A great tip is to put either a piece of vellum or parchment paper over the shrink film. It really helps to flatten them out while they cook. Now, since I already had the toaster oven out, I figured let me go ahead and play with some clay. So I had this green color, this lime green and a white, and it wasn't until I started playing with it that I decided to make a book. And the reason for this book, I think, was because the night before I was watching Harry Potter, and it reminded me of one of the books in the movie that had an eye in the front of it, or it had a creature in the front of it, I can't remember, but I thought, why not use one of the eyes for the focus of this little book? So I just made a jacket cover, I made some pages, and then I pressed my little eye into the clay and added some design around it. Next, I took these tiny little eyes and I put them into some flat bezels. They're really small, and I stuck them in there with some of the clay. I thought they would make perfect earrings. Following the directions on the packaging, I baked the clay and then let it cool. I did remove the eyes from the pieces when I baked them, just because I wanted to make sure that I adhered them properly afterwards. Here I'm using some burnt umber paint and I'm going over the entire book. I wanted to look old and aged, so I'm applying the media fluid and then I'm wiping it off with a paper towel. Here I'm taking a piece of sandpaper and removing even more of the paint. Next, I take a black permanent marker and I color in the edges of the eye. It's going to stick up just a little bit, so I want to make sure I don't see any of the white underneath. I add some gold wax to the book and then glue the eye in place. I finish up the book by using a white Sharpie and a little bit of glitter glue just to give it some sparkle. Now I still had some pieces left over and I thought they would fit perfectly inside this bezel that I never finished. Instead of using paper to cover the background, I decided to use a piece of double tack dry adhesive sheet, and this would solve two things. I could place my little pieces of eyes inside the bezel and they would stick, and the remaining areas that were exposed could be covered in glitter. Now once I removed all the excess glitter, I mixed up a batch of clear resin and poured it into the bezel. The dry adhesive sheet really helped to keep the little components in the bezel, otherwise they would have floated up. I ended up having some resin left over, and so I applied some to the eye as well as to the earrings, and then I let it cure for 24 hours. For the complete list of materials used in this tutorial, see the description below. And for more ideas on how to use shrink film and double tack dry adhesive film, check out grafixarts.com.